Last synchronous session, we have discussed the geologic timescale, which is based on the geological rock record, which includes erosion, mountain building, and other geological events. Over hundreds of thousands of years ago, continents, oceans, and mountain ranges have moved vast distances, both vertically and horizontally. Questions like how do we know when the dinosaurs died? How do we know when the first birds appeared on Earth or when humans evolved? What about the beginning of life itself? How was our planet formed and populated by living things over time? Well, those questions are all answered by the geologic timescale. The question, have human beings permanently changed the planet? That seemingly simple question has sparked a new battle between geologists and environmental advocates over what to call the time period we live in. That human impact has left discernible traces on the stratigraphic record for thousands of years, indeed, since before the beginning of the Holocene. However, substantial and approximately globally synchronous changes to the Earth system most clearly intensified in the great acceleration of the mid 20th century. The mid 20th century also coincides with the clearest and most distinctive array of signals imprinted upon recently deposited strata. The first major change came about as a result of using steam and water to power production. The second industrial revolution was notable for mass production, division of labor, and electricity. The third industrial revolution took place at the turn of 1969 with automated production and the emergence of computing and electronics. The fourth industrial revolution will be as a consequence of the digital transformation, a result of the fusion of technologies that is breaking down the limits between the digital, physical, and biological spheres, creating more gaps in our society. Well, speaking about social stratification and gaps in our society, on our Chalk Talks this afternoon, we have Miss Samantha Alvero, or VJ Stam for short. Well, you might have seen her over social media platforms as the host of Pop Cooltured, searching over the metro good finds from foods to hangout places. A mixed PH VJ working together with Robin Domingo, Edward Berber, and other new media personalities on their Mix PH online segments. VJ Sam is a graduate of Bachelor of Arts in Communication at Ateneo de Manila University, an advocate and socially woke individual. My dear learners, welcome to our Chalk Talks.
Welcome to Chalk Talks, transcending science topics that really matter. From talks about science content blogs to social issues to prepare you for a career ahead of you. All relevant for you and the generations we are in. Here, we will relate and make sense of our Earth and life science discussions to more conscious, more exciting, and more inspiring interviews from people who are scholars, experts of their fields, student leaders, and media personalities. Chalk Talks, transcending science lessons to what really matters.
Good
Yay!
afternoon, Miss Sam, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. We just have a few questions for you for our Science and Society segment. Um,
No
we
problem.
know we know that your content is rich and relevant on today's issues, and we would like
Thank
to
you.
help our grade 11 students to look at various
Mhm.
social issues
Mhm.
on various perspectives. So my
Mhm.
first question would be, how would you describe the social stratification today in our society? Like, are there larger gaps between poor, working, or the middle class and the rich?
Yeah, I would say from based on my knowledge, I think there are bigger gaps, especially now with the pandemic and everything, because especially now that people aren't allowed to, or the movement is very limited within Metro Manila or even in a lot of other places. So some people can't go to work, and some people work on a daily basis. They get paid on the work that they do, and if they're not able to actually work, then they won't be able to earn money. So I think now like the gap is much bigger, but also at the same time everyone is having a hard time right now because it is like in the middle of pandemic, and the movements are so limited, so everyone kind of had to like change course like with their life. Parang no one really knows like how their businesses are going. But in terms of, yeah, the gap, I think throughout the years I feel like the gap has really been becoming bigger. Like the rich people have becoming richer, the poor have been becoming poorer even. So I think it's very evident, especially now. So
And
mm-mm.
then the next one would be what causes this division or stratification in our society? What are your possible insights on this?
I think it's because of the lack of opportunity then, for a lot of people. Because we have so many people who, especially now, it's very evident nga, na parang a lot of people lost their jobs now, and the lack of opportunity for them is not allowing them to get the kind of quality of life that they want. Unlike for people who are already, for example, rich to begin with, they had better or bigger opportunities as compared to other people. So I think a lack of opportunity, a lack of resources also, of course, is one of them.
So I would like to emphasize what Miss Sam has said, that
Mm-hmm.
the major cause of this division in our society now is caused by lack of opportunities, which leads
Mm-hmm.
us to the answer on the first question, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the last one, with all of the social and political issues that we're having right now,
Mm-hmm.
why is it important for our youth to take their stand and speak up regarding these issues instead of just sharing memes, just
Mm-hmm.
doing things that are not really contributing to the
Yeah.
society.
Mm-mm. Mm-hmm. I think it's important for us youth. Well, I'm still part. I'm still young. To take a stand because, like, it's really something that we can do. It's like the very bare minimum of what we can do. And if we're not able to take that stand, then it really robs us of the opportunity to actually help our society. And taking a stand is very important because it shows what we really care about in our society. For example, like if we don't take a stand, then we're just being, we're just being idle and we're not really doing anything. And I think it's important to use our voice because it's given to us for a reason. We're not given a voice to be quiet. We're given a voice to make use of our voice. And how are people going to listen if we don't actually use our voice? Like some people will say na it's useless because they're not gonna listen, but we have to make them listen by actually using our voice. And saying stuff like they're not gonna listen to us even though we do use our voice is kind of like is counterproductive, I would say, because it's really it how do I say, it's the way that we use our voice that'll actually help them listen. Like the people who we want to listen will actually hear us by the very action of actually using our voice. Especially now, it's very important because there's some issues or some people are saying that they're trying to take away our voices from us, and syempre we don't want that to happen, so we really have to use our voice to make the grievances of everyone be heard.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
then last, Miss Sam, some of
Mm-hmm.
my students, some of them are afraid to speak up because they might think that their views are of total opposite with their friends and with their
Mm-hmm.
families. So
Mm-hmm.
how would you suggest, how would they relay the information or the facts that they gather, okay, to speak with their friends and with their family without creating any chaos, no, or
Mm-hmm.
misunderstanding?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think naman in any society, there's always like tension because everyone will
Mm-hmm.
always have like opposing point of views. Not everyone will agree. And that's really like a basic fact of life. But I think especially if you have a viewpoint that is different from other people, I think it's important to also share that viewpoint because you never know that maybe your viewpoint could, share a whole different perspective on a certain issue or a certain something. And I think the best way, because I know what that feels like to
Mm-hmm.
be kind of real and like not really knowing if this is the right place or the right way to say it. But as long as you're being respectful and you're sure of what you're gonna say, you're not fake news or anything, then I think it's important for you to share. And the very The very, very core of it, I think, would be as long as you're not hurting anyone, you're being respectful of your society and respectful of everyone in society, then it shouldn't stop you from actually sharing what you think and what you want to say.
Okay. That's it for our Science and Society segment. Thank you so much, Miss Sam, for being with
Thank
us.
you.
That was a chill and loose talk from DJ Sam, but indeed deep and insightful. As you go along your journey as a student, may it also be your goal that your actions lead to more conscious and socially relevant decisions. With that, let us reflect on this passage. Paul passed on his insight that fellowship with Christ means the hierarchies we love to create must not determine our relationship with one another in Colossians chapter 3 verses 10 to 11. The tie that binds instead is our shared commitment to follow Jesus of Nazareth as the master of our lives. For the cross reveals that none of us is more of a son or daughter of God than another. In God's love, we are all equal. That's it for our week 5 day 2 synchronous session.